So as you can probably guess from the title, this is just a quick little video to show what I would do if I was working on Super Smash Bros. From the very start. A couple of other people have done videos like this, so I can't remember who started the whole thing. But it's an interesting concept, so I might as well try it. First off, we're gonna look at the first Super Smash Bros. I really think Mart and Bowser should have been in that game, and I really don't feel the need for Jigglypuff and Luigi to have been in there either. Mart, Fire Emblem in general, was a lot bigger than both Captain Falcon, Ness, and Fox's games at the time. Fire Emblem already had 5.5 games in the series. There was some BSX games, if you want to count them. But the main point in making it, the Fire Emblem was already a big deal at that time, and no new Fire Emblem games actually came out between the first Super Smash Bros. And Melee, meaning they didn't get any bigger in Melee, yet they still introduced two characters at once in Melee. So I really think Fire Emblem should have been in there from the very start. And I also think you should have at least one villain on your fighting roster. So I think that's why Bowser should have got in. And it wasn't necessary to have both Jigglypuff and Pikachu. I feel that was over-representing Nintendo, which I can't really blame the first Pokemon. It's over-representing Pokemon, which I can't really blame them for, since Pokemon was a big, huge craze back then, and they were basically cashing in on that. But as a term from the purely fan point of view, and not just someone who's making money off this, I think having Jigglypuff in there overrepresented it. And we wouldn't have known at the time, but later down the road, having Jigglypuff and Pikachu in there really unbalanced the first generation, compared to all the other generations. And as I said, you need a villain in there, so I really think Bowser should get in, and he'd be the only real heavy character apart from DK. DK was the only proper heavy character in the original Super Smash Bros. And in terms of Luigi, well, he just got kicked out of Super Mario 64 at that point, so I don't really see there's much need to have Luigi in there. So I put him in Melee, so rest assured I don't hate Luigi or anything. I just felt that in the very first game, if you're going to have two Mario characters, I think one of them should have been a villain instead of just a complete clone. Now you move on to Melee. One of the first things you might notice is that I'm using the exact same roster shapes, and that's not really intentional. It just so happens that the amount of characters that I would have thought would be good for Melee would have been the same as the amount of characters that they actually picked for Melee. We're getting one of the easiest ones first, and that's Wolf, instead of Falco, because really Falco has no reason to be in Smash. I'm delighted that Falco is in Smash, because basically he's cool, and that's the only reason Falco's there. He's just in because he's Falco, because really Falco didn't and still doesn't have any more importance on the Star Fox team than Slippy or Peppy. You could even argue it's less importance, because Slippy does the boss shields and Peppy is story based, the most senior member of the crew and member of the old Star Fox, while Falco is just Falco, the A spotted. But Falco got in because he's generally cool and awesome. But in terms of representation and all that, I think they should have went with a villain instead of Falco. I am actually really glad they went with Falco. Falco's one of my mains in Melee and Brawl. But I just couldn't really have. I wouldn't really have decided on Falco. I would have picked Wolf and did the whole kind of same moveset style that they have, just with Wolf instead of Falco. It's not really about Falco. That means his moveset has to be like that. Next, we'll go back up to the top row, and I'll say Diddy Kong. Yeah, I think Diddy Kong should have gone in. Donkey Kong is more than big enough series to get a second rep. It's like Nintendo's third biggest series, first party series, after Mario and Zelda. It's bigger than Metroid. And Diddy Kong is the biggest character in Donkey Kong after Donkey Kong himself. That doesn't really need to be explained. He got into Brawl, and at the time when this came out, the Donkey Kong games were still relatively new. So I'm pretty sure Donkey Kong 64 came after Smash 64. So there, Diddy Kong doesn't really need much more explanation. King Dedede, yeah, I think Kirby could have done with a second rep at that point. And the reason King Dedede didn't get in is because Sakura didn't want to overrepresent his own series, but I don't really care much about that since none of this belongs to me. So I think Dedede would have been nice to fit in there, and also upper heavy character list as well. And right next to him you can see Ridley. Of course, everyone knows my opinions on Ridley. Ridley should have been in a long, long time ago. Ali would have been a nice place to put him in, since, we already had one character from the last game. Okay, there's no real reason why he should have been in Ali, apart from the fact that Ridley's awesome and Metroid deserves a second rep. But looking at the future, this gave me room to put in Dark Samus, but I couldn't have known that if I was making this at a time. But still, I think Ridley was a big enough character, and Metroid was a big enough franchise to deserve 2 reps. So yeah, Zelda went the same way, except I didn't add Sheik in, because Sheik's going to be very old at that point, very soon. Of course, I couldn't have known that, and it was a good gimmick that they put in Sheik in. So I'm actually happy that they put Sheik in, and happy to keep him in Brawl, but just personally, from a pure representation design point of view, Sheik really shouldn't have got in, I don't think. But what do I know? I'm all about movesets too, and a moveset point, I really do like the fact that Sheik got in. But just deciding like this, I decided not to put Sheik. Now, probably the kind of most out there one that I've put in is Suicune, or whatever his name is, that Pokemon there, as a Gen 2 rep. Slightly obvious actually, since he was the mascot of Pokemon Crystal. So that seems like a pretty good representation of the 3rd gen, because he could work in a moveset kind of okay, and you have water and ice powers as well, kind of to go coupled with the Ice Climbers, who were the only kind of ice-based people there. I have moved this roster around a bit just to fit in new people. That makes it slightly harder to realise exactly what characters I didn't put in. I went basically the same route, but I didn't put in Falco, obviously. I stuck in Luigi. Didn't have Jigglypuff put in. Pichu, yes, I left Pichu out. And who is Diddy Kong going over? I'm not sure, I made this a while back before I actually got around to over voicing it. So I'm sure whoever it is, I have good reason for not having in. Since if I wanted to actually just have more space in the roster, I could have put it on the left or right sides. There were just gaps there. I didn't make it purposely, so it was the same size as Mali's roster. Yes, it's Young Link. Young Link's the one I took out because, well, I just honestly probably wouldn't have thought of it actually. I like the fact that Young Link got in there, and I actually probably prefer him over Adult Link and Mali. But really, clones were just kind of a lazy idea. The only characters I would have seen necessary to clone maybe Fox and Falco, since they didn't really have any in-game fighting style to go on. And well, I really love Roy's moveset, so I would have kept that cloned, even though I probably wouldn't have thought of it in the first place. Ganondorf, I would have given him a magic based moveset, but I wouldn't have given him a sword, since he didn't really actually have much sword fighting appearances at that point. Maybe I would have given him 1 or 2 sword attacks based in the Space World demo. But I wouldn't really have made it the basis of the entire moveset. I would have given magic-based projectiles though. So I'm not completely against Ganondorf having swords and magics. It's just that I feel that the moveset they did give him really works. And that's why I don't support Ganondorf having magics and sword-based movesets, since I'm happy with the way he is now. Really happy with the way he is now. Anyway, that's it. You can see it all. It's out there in the open. I'll move on to the Brawl roster now. Now, onto Brawl. I did have 1 extra character in the Brawl's roster. I got rid of the random space, so it's still a square. But that's not really important. We'll go down vertically, we'll go down vertically and horizontally, like the way they're grouped in Brawl. First thing you'll notice is King K. Rool. I think that's a no-brainer. He didn't have any major appearances between Melee and Brawl, just in the kind of prior games. But Donkey Kong overall didn't have many major releases. And King K. Rool, he's a major important Donkey Kong character, and the fact that I put Diddy Kong into Melee means I could easily add a 3rd Donkey Kong rep without just jumping the gun and having them all added in once. Once again, we see Zelda without Sheik, and I decided to add in Vaati, since between Melee and Brawl, that's when his games were most kind of prevalent. In fact, all his games happened between Melee and Brawl so far. He hasn't had any since Brawl's release. And in general, Vaati could be a nice moveset. Fighter. I made a moveset video about him and my not in roster movesets. And just going down the same people that they added in Brawl, Pitch and Rob. Might seem uninventive, but I do think these are generally good choices. Maybe I wouldn't have thought of him. Probably definitely wouldn't have thought of Rob. In fact, I don't think I even knew who Rob was before I seen him in Mario Kart DS. But Rob is very important. I'll maintain Rob should stick in there. Yeah, added in Meta Knight and Olimar. kept it just Fox and Wolf for Star Fox. Don't think Star Fox really needs a third rep as much as the likes of Donkey Kong and Metroid do. So and Kirby, I just kept them at just those two. And put in Eliwood, like I support in my roster since and Ike. Put in both of them, and Eliwood replacing Roy, since those games all did happen between Fire Emblem, the Fire Emblem Game Boy Advance games and the GameCube Wii games came out between Melee and Brawl, and both of them are very important in their own right for introducing people into the Fire Emblem series. So I think a rep from each generation of Fire Emblem games there would work well. So I kept Eliwood, I kept Martin, putting Eliwood and Ike. Added Lucas just like they did in Brawl. Here in Pokemon, I replaced Suicune with Lucario. And I kept Mewtwo in as well as that, because I don't think Lucario did overwrite Mewtwo's moveset. I think they fight very, very differently. Lucario is a lot more power based than Mewtwo is just kind of knockback based. So I think both of them could both work as characters in Super Smash Bros. I think the only real similarity they have is their neutral special and maybe one of their smashes. I can't remember which one, but apart from that, most of their attacks are very, very different. And you could make Lucario even more different to Mewtwo than he already is if you still think Lucario will overplace Mewtwo in moveset wise, since Lucario doesn't really fight like Steel type in Brawl, and you could make him fight a lot more like a fighting type as well. So that's it. I just kind of replaced the old representation and put in the new one with Lucario with the 4th gen rep instead of the 2nd gen rep that I had before. And Pokemon Trainer, I added him in too. And the fact that I added in Ridley and Melee meant I was free to add Dark Samus into Brawl without over-representing Metroid all at once. And Dark Samus really was at the biggest point, Metroid Prime was at its biggest point just at Brawl's release. So if Dark Samus at any point to try and get in, then it would have been at that time. So now, I think that's it. You can see everything there. I didn't really replace many people. Everyone who I did, I think I added in everyone in Brawl who they were going to add in anyway. Just the people that I didn't add in Melee, I just replaced in the Brawl roster. So we'll go on to the future of Smash series, taking this into account with SSB4. Now, the first thing I'm going to say about the roster is, and all these rosters that I've shown you, is forgive my bad copy and pasting skills. I didn't really put a lot of effort into this. You'll see all the characters I added in. I didn't really keep their names or anything, and that's why Dark Samus is down in the left hand corner, balancing the parallel of my roster and not beside the Metroid characters. It would have just taken so much effort to rearrange everything from the already picture that I have from my original SSB4 roster. So anyway, the changes between this and my own SSB4 roster, I added much of the same characters. I kept in Dark Samus because I put Dark Samus into Brawl, so I felt I could keep him in, whatever. Other things, I could add in Chrom safely, because I had already built Fire Emblem up as a series with 3 reps before this. In Brawl I had 3 reps and Melee had 2, so I felt I could keep it up to 4 without overwriting one of the other characters. Jumping from 2 to 4 in the current roster wouldn't really feel right. So even though I haven't played Chrom the game yet, I think you could get 4 in distinct movesets out there as well. If the 3 already were established beforehand, I wouldn't jump from 2 to 4 now. Other than that, it's all much the same. Pokemon, just like Fire Emblem, I felt I could add in both Victini and Zoroark. Since if I just replace Lucario, then we're keeping the same number of characters. I can still afford to add in another one, and that's kind of good, representing Gen 4 twice over. Once again, I think all my Pokemon could have very distinct and unique movesets. And this is all attributed to the fact that I didn't put Jigglypuff in at the very, very start, I think. Yeah, it's actually, it ends up quite similar to my own moveset in what I've added in. Impa's a bit more photoshopped there than usual, which that's because I have her as a separate character to Zelda. I just felt I could do that since I'd kept Zelda pretty down low. From Melee and Brawl, I just kept it as 3 characters from that exchange. So I feel I can jump up to 5, from 3 to 5, by just adding 2 new characters. I'm going to say now in here, I made these rosters before the announcement of Gen 6 and before the announcement of all the stuff at Nintendo Direct. I just haven't really got around to voicing over them, so I don't have stuff from Gen 6 Pokemon. and I think Schultz would definitely chew into my main SSB4 roster now, as well as this roster here. You can stick him in the bottom right corner there if you want to imagine. So that's all there is. The rosters are just out there for you to see. You can see everything about them. The only thing that's really out there and radical about these rosters, I think, is adding in Suicune as a Gen 2 rep. Which now that I think about it, would be kind of interesting to see how he works his moveset. We've seen that like a quadruped type character can work with Bulbasaur or Ivysaur. So I think he could work as a moveset. It might be interesting. I haven't really thought about a moveset for Suicune. But give him some time, I'm sure I could come up with one. I think that's the most interesting thing I came up with while thinking about this. So that's it, all out there. We have it there. Tune in next time and I'll talk about some more stuff.